helping people cope with and overcome life's challenges. This is Life Transformations with Michael Hart, certified Christian counselor and director of Ottawa's Elim Counseling Services.
Hi, this is Michael Hart of Elim Counseling Services, and I want to thank you for being with us today on this episode of the Life Transformation Radio Show. We have today the second part of the series, How to Nurture Your Relationship. Last week we looked at part one, and it was really a fun talking about aspects of your relationship that could be strengthened to make you feel revived and in love and enthusiastic about each other again. And I do hope that you're more happily married this week than last week. And we are going to believe that as we do the second part of this series, you're going to be even more happily married as you continue to nurture your relationship using the acronym that we have developed. Yes, this is original to us here at Elim. It's the Fiesta, the word Fiesta, the Fiesta of love, how to using these qualities that is found represented by the letters of the word Fiesta. So last week we looked at the first two letters, the F and I, and I'll do a brief recap. But before I do so, I would like to give out the information about our contact information again. If you're new to this show, you can find out more about Elim by going to our website at Elim Counseling Ministry. That is spelled E-L-I-M. Counseling is spelled with two L's, so it's elimcounselingministry.com. You can also call us by dialing 613-699-1677. Again, it's 613-699-1677. And as usual, we have Melissa here with us today. Come to the second part of this series, How to Nurture Your Relationship.
Thanks so much for having me back, Michael, and I'm really excited to continue the rest of our analysis of the word Fiesta and how we can use it as a guide to help nurture our relationships. And last week, we also talked a little bit in our show about a retreat that's coming up. So I'm wondering if you can briefly go over the retreat, the healing retreat that's coming up May 6th to 8th weekend. Just giving the details about what's supposed to happen, how many spots are there, how can people get more information about it?
Well, last week we talked about the fact that there are only 12 spots available. So I think these 12 spots are going to go very fast. And so if you're interested in registering for this retreat, then please give us a call at 613-699-1677. The workshop is going to run from Friday evening until Sunday morning on the 8th. And we will be having a number of very important teaching sessions, teachings on things like how to break generational curse, how to be freed from unforgiveness, how to get over feelings of resentment and betrayal, and even things like bereavement. So there is going to be throughout the course of the weekend a number of teaching sessions that the guests, there are only 12 guests, as I said before, that can attend, and these guests are going to be taken through very deep teachings on these different topics. But also what is very, very important about this weekend is that there's going to be an immersion in praying and in seeking God for each individual that are there for that weekend, so that they would really get the breakthrough. So I think there's a possibility here for people to have profound change, because there's something about getting away and spending quiet place with God, and I think that is what this retreat is going to facilitate.
And so where will people be getting away to for this retreat?
So the retreat will be held at Providence Point, in just about an hour outside of Ottawa in Lanark. So the Providence Point Retreat Center, just about I would say just over an hour. And it's a wonderful place. It's not far, but it's a good remote place where people can have a quiet time and just be alone and And I do believe that people are going to be really set free and healed from things like unforgiveness, addictions, and generational curse that might be driving their lives. And I'm very excited about this.
And so if people want to get on the list to attend this retreat, where can they go about doing that?
If you're interested in getting on the list, you can go to the contact information on my website and send me an email. And you can also call 613-699-1677, and we'll be happy to put you on the list. There's also going to be a sign-up page on the website that you can just click the link and register there as well.
Another topic we talked about last week was a new extension of the Elim Counseling in the Cornwall area that's targeting a vulnerable group. And we brought it up to the listeners because it's through the help of our listeners and other people who've donated to this ministry that this is actually able to exist. So I was wondering if you could share what is going on in the Cornwall area and who you're attempting to target through this.
So we have started a support group for abused women who have fled homes in which they have experienced, and so they're in shelter or maybe in the prospect of trying to figure out how they can get help to leave abusive relationships. And so this will be have the format of have two different formats. The first format will be group teaching, where there will be a group of I would say we're starting with a group of about 10 women who will be having weekly group therapy for 2 hours, where they'll be learning a number of things about the cycle of abuse and themselves and how to get help and so forth. And then they'll have individual counseling sessions, those of them who are interested. And the great thing about this, Melissa, is that we're doing this for free. We believe that people who are often in this position, they're not able to afford counseling, and so we're doing this. It's a free service that we're doing for the community.
And so if people are interested in attending these types of sessions, how can they go about and getting a hold of us? Is it again just through the website or emailing you?
Yes, again, it's in the Cornwall area, so you can get in touch 699-1677, and we can give you further information about that. And maybe you have been through, someone is listening who have been through abuse and is now on the other side, and you think this is an important area for us to be providing help. And so you might want to consider giving a donation to the ministry to help to offset the cost of that, because as we said, we're doing this charging these ladies who will be attending. So we need to have donations coming in that can help us to offset the cost, because even though it's free, it's at a cost to us to put this retreat on and to have it run for the period of time that we'll be having it.
So if this is an area of interest to you, I encourage you to reach out, contact us through our webpage, and considering giving what you can for this important area to help these ladies in their time of need. With all that being said, now's the time to get back into our Fiesta topic and how we can nurture our relationships. And I'm excited to hear if people took us up on our homework challenges from the end of last show, and if you tried to practice being a friend to your spouse and doing some fun things in your relationships, or if you tried to take an active interest over the past week into some of the things maybe you weren't so interested in before. And if you let us know how it worked, because we're interested to see how the things we talked about in this show affect your life and hopefully change things and make things better for you. And we also want to congratulate the winner of the book. Thanks for writing in, everyone who did it. It was really great to hear all your responses. We set a challenge out for people who have just joined in this show to figure out what the other letters of the acronym Fiesta stood for. So we appreciate you sending in your responses. To start off the show, if my spelling is right, we're on the letter E, are we not?
Absolutely. So last week we did the first two letters. For talks of the F was for the friends or developing becoming best friends, and the I was for interest, showing an active interest in each other's life. And we went very deep in these two letters. So if you wanted to, and we gave scriptural references as well. So if you wanted to find out more about that, if you missed last week's show, you can go to our website at elimcounselingministry.com, and you can listen to that podcast. I want to go right into the third letter, which is the letter E.
And so what does E stand for?
E is for expression. And so for people who are happily married, the research shows that in happily married couples, in relationships in which couples are happily married, there is an expression of love. So a physical expression and also a verbal expression of love. One of the signs of this connection is that people are moving away from each other, not just in terms of spending less time, but even the closeness, the closeness with which they sit to each other, the frequency with which they touch each other. There have been research done that shows that the researchers could tell the couples who were just engaged or in the first few years of marriage, or the couples who have been married for a long time, based on how close they sat to each other and the frequency which they made physical contact. So one of the ways in which people fall out of love is that they stop making physical contact. And by physical contact, I'm not just talking about sexual intimacy. I'm talking about simple things like hugging each other, kissing goodbye, and when you're leaving for work in the morning, kissing, welcoming your partner home in the evenings, holding hands, sitting beside each other while at home, hugging each other while watching a movie. These are all signs of physical contact. And yes, sexual intimacy is also a part of that. And the lack of sexual intimacy in a relationship is often a symptom that there are other things that are wrong in the relationship as well.
One question that comes to mind with that, though, is I've heard for some people, well, touching or physical contact isn't my thing, or you've probably heard the love languages, different things, not how they like to express. So how do they fit into that, where maybe they're just not cuddlers? They're not the person who's going to spoon in bed or snuggle on the couch. Is there an issue there? Or?
And let me say that's one of the beef that I have with that book, the 5 Love Languages, because it kind of presents it in a way that people could actually have that kind of misunderstanding that, I am not the physical kind. Therefore, I can have a healthy relationship in which because I am not physical the hugging type of person, that I'm just not going to do that. I think that's a mistake. I think that every person, every relationship needs to have the physical expression as part of the relationship, because that's how you come together in the first place. I can't see a couple coming together in which there were contact when you were engaged or when you were dating each other. It's something that we all do when we are in love. The love hormones cause us to want to be close and to touch and to cuddle. So I think it's something that happens within the course of time that sort of kills that desire to be close to your partner. And I think to be happily married, or to restore the love, you need to go back to touching. And the good news about that, Melissa, is that when you start touching again, even though you don't feel like it, something happens that trigger a connection and that make you want to spend more time together, make you want to connect, because I think it serves as a kind of catalyst to restore the relationship.
So what sort of steps can people do to start promoting that again? Because I'm picturing the couple that are sides of the room and not even talking about like physical intimacy and sexual relationships. Holding hands or a kiss on the cheek would be a rarity for them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you start nurturing that and bringing that back again? Because as you say, at first, it's probably a bit awkward because it's just not something you've done. How do you start bringing that back in?
I think to do that, you need to go back to the other letters that we talked about in the previous show, because when you're disconnected, the touching and the hugging doesn't come naturally.
You don't want to do that with a stranger, right?
It feels forced, right? So if you are not friends, if you have the F missing in the word fiesta, or the I missing, where you're not showing interest in aspects of each other's lives, then guess what? It's going to be very hard for you to just go to the expression of physical contact. And so I think the physical contact dies because the other elements are missing. So I would say work on the friendship. It's the fun part of the relationship. Start showing interest in each other. And I think as you do so, it will be more natural for you to feel as if you want to touch, you want to hold your partner's hand, and therefore even sexual intimacy will become more naturally a part of the relationship, because it's very hard, especially for women, to want to physically connect when they're not connected in any other relationship. It's hard for them to want to be sexually intimate, and I think a lot of men sometimes misses that. They feel that you can be disconnected the entire day or for weeks or for months, and then just have the intimacy part, the sexual intimacy part, and it doesn't work that way.
No, and it's funny, it's that loop that happens where maybe, again, a bit stereotypical, but maybe the guy thinks, well, I feel connected when we've had sexual intimacy. And the woman saying, I can't have sexual intimacy with you until we've connected in these other ways. So it's breaking that cycle. The other piece of the on much here thus far is it's not just the physical expression. You said it's a verbal expression as well.
Absolutely. So the research shows that couples who are happily married also have frequent expression of affection and the love towards each other. So get back into the habit or the attitude of expressing your gratitude for the person. It doesn't have to be I love you, because I love you can become meaningless if it is not backed by other things. But partners that you appreciate and that you love, and say, when I feel so valued when you do that, or I'm so thankful that you are like this. It makes me happy that I am with you because of this. I'm so thankful that God blessed me with someone like you because of these qualities. And so those verbal expressions and affirmations will help to make the relationship stronger and better. And to have a relationship, a healthy, happy relationship, if the verbal part of it is missing as well.
So you can't just say I love you on your first date and that's it forever. It's a something that needs to be worked on over time. And so the next letter of Fiesta is S. And for those of you who tried to guess out there, it doesn't stand for sex. Sorry to burst the bubble.
And I think this is probably where a lot of people who maybe tried the email
it's okay.
having the solution would.
It was my first guess until you told me what it was.
The S is not for sex. Sex is covered under the expression, the physical expression. But the S is for solution. Couples who are happily married have this tendency to be solution focused. And let me explain what I mean. When there is a problem, couples who end up divorcing or end up having real hard time dealing with the conflict, who become focused on the problem instead of on how can we solve this together. Couples who are solution focused, they work as a team and they see issues and challenges as an opportunity to work together as a team to help to break that problem or to overcome that problem. And one of the things that I say to couples in the first session a lot of time is that we are here together as a team working these challenges, and I think I can actually see a shift in their demeanor when I say that within the session, because they came in thinking it's going to be me against you, we are fighting against each other, and I am right and you are wrong. But when you take the team approach, there's going to be less tendency to indulge in name calling and blaming and shaming, which are things that leads to relationship. So the solution focused relationship is a relationship in which people work together as a team to solve problems, not to dwell on problems and to make problems. So in the passage that we read last in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5 says that love keeps no record of wrong. And I think solution-focused couples do not keep a record. Yes, this is the issue and you have done to go and stick. That's keeping a record of wrong. But the solution-focused couple said, yes, this happened 10 years ago. How can we get past that? What do I need from you, or what do you need from me, so that we can put this issue to bed and move on past that?
I think that's a really great way to think of things, because you do run the risk over time of getting in this adversarial relationship, as you said, but thinking about the team, that two are better together as a couple, and looking at your problems as solutions and opportunities for you guys to grow even closer as you overcome them, and recognizing probably that the problem that you're dealing with today, if it's maybe you caused it more, there'll be something else in the future that'll be your partner, and recognizing that we're in this together, I think, is a really great perspective for people to take. And so we have a couple letters left, and the next one after our solution-focused S is T. And what does T?
And let me just say before I go into the T that if you have just joined us, you can listen to the other letters by going to our website and listening to what we have covered in the previous show. This is part of a 2-part series. So you can listen to the first part by going to our website at elimcounselingministry.com. Elim is spelled E-L-I-M, counseling with 2 L's, elimcounselingministry.com. And you can also call us at 613-699-1677 if you would like to ask a question pertaining to any of the things we have covered, or relationship, or maybe for a friend. So again, it's 613-699-1677, and I'm your host, Michael Hart of Elim Counseling Services. So Melissa, you had asked about the T in the word Fiesta. The T is for tolerant. So for couples who are happily married, they don't dwell on imperfections. They're tolerant. They have a realistic view of what a happy marriage is. I think sometimes we can become disillusioned, and as a result end up being very frustrated and unhappy, because we have this Hollywood version of living happily ever after saying the wedding vows, which is not the reality in any marriage. So having a realistic view is to say that I am tolerant with my partner being less than perfect. I am tolerant with my partner's flaws because I realize that my partner is not a perfect.
So I have to put up with the socks on the floor and the toothpaste cap not being put on at the end of the night. Is that what I'm hearing? Well, I need to let that dream go.
I have to be careful. I don't want to get in trouble with my wife in case she might be listening. So I have to be careful what I say.
But I do think that's a great thing to bring up, because I think sometimes we get through the fog of engagement and the early stages of relationships, right, and everything is awesome. Yes. And it's all going to be perfect and wonderful. And then after a little bit of time, you realize you've just married another imperfect human like yourself. Right. And it can be...
and I think that is why we have such a high rate of divorce and people having serial marriages in our society, where people married, it's not uncommon to find people who are married for the second and the third time, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that life should be perfect, my partner should be perfect, and they're not realistic. And so to answer your question, I'm not saying that you should not work on issues. If you need to become more organized and not leave your socks on the floor, or to make sure that you put the toilet seat down because you know it house. I'm not saying that issues are not to be worked on. And I'm not saying that there might not be times when it's unsafe to remain in a relationship. I'm saying that a lot of times we have too much of an idealistic view of a relationship, where when we start having conflicts, some couples, they start having conflicts over things that are naturally a part of marriage, because you're two human beings, and they get to a place where they start feeling, I have to get out of here. I can't tolerate this anymore. We have to break up,
or we
because
must
we're
have
having
a problem.
problems. Yeah, we must have a problem, because we are fighting over issues. We have conflict. Let me say that conflict is a good sign, because it shows that you are both passionate about the relationship and you want to make it better. Sometimes the absence of conflict is more of a problem than being a sign of a.
And so we've reached the last letter of our Fiesta, and that's the letter A. And what can we learn about how to nurture our relationships from what this letter stands for?
And I guess it ties in with the T in some way. So the A stands for being aware. So when you have a realistic view and you're tolerant of your partner, sometimes what brings this tolerance is to understand your partner's weakness. So the A is for aware, being aware of what your partner weaknesses are and where they might have come from. And when there is this awareness, let us say that you are aware, for example, that your partner had a very troubled childhood, where his father or her father would often be very, very abusive and shouts a lot. And so you understand that when you raise your voice, it triggers for your partner the memory of the abuse. It's a very big blow up, even though you might not have meant it to be that way. So just understanding and being aware of some of these dynamics. What's your being aware of your partner's past? What are some of the things that they have dealt with that might still be triggering issues in this relationship? And I'm saying that when there is an awareness, and I'm saying it ties in with the T, when you're aware, you can become more tolerant. So a lot of times in relationships, when couples come before me and they start understanding what their partner's childhood was like, and what the issues are that they had to deal with when they were a child, then immediately they start having more empathy, because now they can understand where some of the issues are coming from.
And it's interesting you said how that links to the T in tolerance, but I also think it links to all the other letters we've talked about through this whole show, where if you're friends with someone and you have that trust and you show an interest and you know where someone's coming and you have that intimacy, it all flows together. That these aspects that we've talked about them discreetly and individually, they all work together.
Yes.
And if you're missing one, the others won't be as good as they could be.
That is so true. Yes. So I think when you have these 7 things, these 6 things in your relationship, where you're aware that you need to be friends, where you're showing interest in your partner's life, expressing physical and verbal love, where you're solution focused, where you're tolerant, where you're aware, I think you can see how this would make for a healthy, happy relationship. What I would suggest that you do, if you're listening and you want to make your relationship better, is just sit with your spouse sometime soon and say, let's go over these 6 things that Michael and Melissa have talked about, and see where we might fall short, and just go through and see, okay, this is where we are falling short. Now let us become aware of what we need to do. Let us be solution focused and look on what we need to do to make this better.
And as we said before, it starts with that foundation of friendship and showing interest. So plan a day